March Madness. March Madness. March American Madness. News or Bust. This week with guest director James Cameron, featuring Turd Blossom, War of the Worlds, Dead People, and Headless Vikings. Now the news. Or bust style.
Texas has textbooks. The Alamo didn't involve Mexicans. Ross Perot and Ralph Nader never existed. And the civil rights movement created, quote, unrealistic expectations of equal outcomes, unquote, among the minorities. That's according to new textbooks from the Texas State Board of Education. In addition to exporting lousy presidents, Texas is also a major buyer of textbooks, so most schools may be using these edited materials. I think the left has a real problem seeing their own bias, said he's really a dentist, Don McLeroy, one of the conservative members dominating the board and demanding a full revision of history. Ronald Reagan not only undermined and overwhelmed the Soviet Union, but also cured cancer, AIDS, and wrestled Bigfoot. Capitalism has been replaced by free enterprise. It's strange how capitalism is suddenly a bad word among conservatives. Makes everyone rich, according to these texts as well. 5 members of the board are minorities, all of whom will be deported once these books come out, with Mavis Knight of Dallas leading the lackluster opposition, saying, quote, I cannot go back to my community and say I participated in perpetuating this fraud on students, end quote. If such bias in teaching our history doesn't disturb you, remember this was the front page story of the New York Times, the official champion of liberal blather for over a century. Turd Blossom. Karl Rove, yep, a Texan, fresh out of prison, we wish, and pushing his new, totally honest and accurate tell-all book, Courage and Consequence, My Life as a Gay Muslim Woman, appeared on Meet the Press to ironically accuse the Obama admin of a lack of transparency and overly aggressive policy approaches. Stuffed with pork, he called the healthcare bill. FYI, W nicknamed Rove Turd Blossom. How fitting. And the king of swine would know. Subjects, responses, and the real meaning follow. On weapons of mass destruction not being found in Iraq, we would have found other ways to constrain his behavior. That means Saddam. Really meaning we would have invaded anyway. On the management and cost of the war, the admin emphatically said that this was not about oil. That means it was about oil. On Sarah Palin, this is her year to get ready for the red-hot spotlight, meaning I'm helping her. On the Tea Party, right now, they're going to exact their revenge this year, and it isn't going to be pretty for Dems, meaning I'm helping them too until I get a better offer. On the press covering John McCain was starstruck in 2000, meaning that's why we told everyone McCain has a black bastard child. Is Fox News fair to Obama? Absolutely, according to Rove, adding, I would not be put out there as a, quote, objective journalist. They call him Turd Blossom for a reason. Speaking of politics, here's a political ad.
Tired of big government? Elected officials who don't listen? Well, so is Stu. Free bones and belly rubs for all. Vote Stu this fall, voters' best friend.
Paid for by T-Buyers, Tethers, and no-nonsense everywhere.
Go Stu. Feeling moody? New legislation to overhaul the financial industry, sure to be far more popular than healthcare reform, and if the Dems don't let people vote on this, it's going to be just a crime. You don't go through a year of this bickering and get us all excited about healthcare, get everybody up in arms trying to defend their beautiful healthcare industry and this supposedly awesome coverage we have, and then don't vote on it. Just sneak it through. You can't do that, Dems. Come on. People need to put their names to their votes. Anyway, new legislation for the financial industry wrought a warning shot from the credit rating agency Moody's, which announced that the US and the UK are substantially closer to losing their AAA credit ratings. This year, our government will spend 7% of revenue, that's all of our taxes, to pay interest on debt, growing to 11% by 2013. If we hit 15%, our credit rating will drop to AA. Thereon, it's payday loans and pawning of the Smithsonian. And don't dare raise taxes or touch the military, damn you. And you thought America was a mess. The Republic of Georgia's pro-government IMEDI TV aired a 30-minute invasion by Russian troops last Saturday. scaring the entire country sober for a brief while with live footage of fellow Georgians fleeing and sound bites of Russian President Medvedev and PM Putin. Unfortunately, the pro-government station forgot to tell anybody that the invasion wasn't real and it was only a, quote, simulation until the very end of the program. People were freaked out. This was War of the Worlds, but more realistic, because Georgia was invaded by Russia in 2008, so the viewers were understandably freaked out. In related news regarding poor planning, Israel managed to ostracize its only ally on earth by announcing new settlement construction in disputed East Jerusalem. Oops. They did so during VP Joe Biden's visit last week to encourage peace talks between Israel and Palestinians. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called the timing, quote, insulting. Speaking of insulting, here's a word from Dave and Brad's cock powder.
News, or bust. Proudly brought to you by Dave and Brad's cock powder. It's the original. Now conveniently packaged for dipping.
It's good stuff. Trust us. Olympic-sized headaches. Workers excavating a road for the London 2012 Olympic sailing venue unearthed a mass grave containing 51 beheaded bodies, unleashing a curse that will leave all Brits with bad teeth and led by an inbred people known as royalty. The decapitated remains later proved to be Vikings, who obviously invaded the wrong area and lost more than the battle during the Dark Ages. Also, God's BFF, Cardinal Ratzinger, now known as the kinder, gentler Pope+Benedict, is also known to have moved at least one priest accused of sexual abuse to another church. In response, God said he's pondering a great flood. Long overdue help for some 10,000 claimants who became ill after working at Ground Zero, aka the inside job, came last week when a $657 million offer was announced, until it was postponed on Friday by a federal judge who, get this, wanted to make sure that the myriad lawyers involved are fairly compensated, saying, quote, this won't be a giveaway, end quote. Gotta look out for the lawyers. News of the dead. The New York City Police Department towed a van in Lower Manhattan for being illegally parked last week. That is, the van was parked in front of Redden's funeral home and contained a corpse, which wasn't discovered until the van was already impounded. Also, Michael Jackson may be more profitable dead than alive, with a reported offer from Sony Music to release 7 posthumous albums, unreleased tracks or sounds of decay, we just don't know yet, guaranteeing the King of Pop's estate $200 million. It's interesting, his estate is doing quite well now that he's dead, because he isn't there to buy stupid things like the Elephant Man skeletons, young boy bribery payoff scandals. Never mind. Okay. On to the real news. It's March Madness. So let's look at the NCAA. Obama, all-wise one, has picked Kansas, Kansas State, Kentucky, and Villanova for his Final Four teams. But we look at it far differently. Let's start up there. We are picking Cornell to be a real shocker to go very far, with Louisville winning that bracket. Bye-bye, Kentucky. We also really like Siena, but Louisville, they're tough. They're tough, I'm telling you. West Virginia, look out for them. We like Murray State for some reason, but that West, that's all Syracuse all the time. Our center needs to heal up a little bit, but we'll see. A Cuse-Pittsburgh rematch. Pittsburgh handed Syracuse its first loss of the season, and if you look up top, you also have Georgetown sweeping through. I do like Georgia Tech going quite a ways, and you can never ignore Michigan State. Strong team. But I have Georgetown winning that bracket, so we have an all Big East Final Four. Georgetown, Syracuse, quite a rematch. Syracuse beat them twice, then G-Town ripped them pretty well in the tournament. And then we also have West Virginia against Louisville. A Louisville-Syracuse final game. Louisville beat Syracuse 2 times this year. Can they make it 3? Will Syracuse lose in the first round to Vermont? We will see, folks. That's why we play the games. That's the news, folks. Thanks for watching. Maybe we'll see you next week.